Test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India are home. Lords goes one.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm joined today by the regulars, Mahesh, Ashoka, and Kartikeya. I'll link Mahesh and Kartikeya's handle on X. I'll post a link to Kartikeya's Substack and his archive of articles from ESPN Cricinfo. I don't know what to post from Ashoka, but if you can find him anywhere, please let me know online. We're here to discuss quite a momentous day, actually, in Test cricket, especially in New Zealand cricket, and absolutely fantastic Test series victory for New Zealand in India. They have won the second Test in Pune by 113 runs, and this is after they won the first Test in Bangalore. No team in India has won a series for 13 years. England were the last team to do it. And only three teams have done it in this century. You know, South Africa did it at the turn of the century. Australia won in 2004, and England won after that. So this is quite a rare achievement. I mean, we started this podcast in 2018. This is the first home series defeat we are discussing. I mean, even if we had started it in 2014, this would have been the first home series defeat we're discussing. Phenomenal. I mean, this had, I don't know. I mean, I listed the other three performances, but I think of the four in this century, I'm not going back earlier, but of the four this century, I think this is easily for me the most remarkable. I mean, South Africa of the 2099-2000 era coming to India and winning. Well, yeah, I mean, they were quite a force at that point of time in world cricket. Australia, of course, were one of the greatest teams ever. England winning, was a bit of a surprise, but you had Graham Swan, who was one of the great English spinners. You had, while it was a surprise, it wasn't like it didn't come out of the blue. I think it's fair to say this has come out of the blue. New Zealand, we previewed the series, we gave them no chance. Even after the first Test, we felt that was possibly a one-off. But I think the second Test is perhaps the peak of, one of their greatest Test wins ever. I mean, older folks will point to, New Zealand winning in Australia in 1985, Richard Hadley's famous Test at the Gabba. But, I would easily think that this is one of New Zealand cricket's greatest achievements. To come to India, to actually play on a wicket like Pune, to outbowl India spinners. And, this second Test was pretty much what you would say were typical, like Indian conditions. Bangalore was slightly different. It was like a bit of a outlier in terms of Tests in India and the amount of movement they got for the seamers. But this was, you can say a typical Test match in India, and they've dominated. I mean, they had, they were on the 13 wickets for Mitchell Santner. I mean, that was, again, the third best bowling figures for a visiting bowler in India. After Ajaz Patel in that match where he got 10 wickets, he finished with 14 in the match. Ian Botham's famous 13 wickets in a Test match in Bombay, the Jubilee Test, one of the great all-round performances in Test history. And then you have Santner's 13. So, and this is Mitchell Santner, who has never taken a 10-wicket haul, even in a first-class match. All right. So this is such a big day for him. This is such a big day for New Zealand cricket. I mean, their women won the World Cup recently. New Zealand have won a series in India. I mean, this is quite a remarkable couple of weeks. So, yeah, happy to celebrate it. Also, we must pause a moment and just take in how dominant the Indian team has been at home. I mean, we shouldn't. This is, in fact, the moment to not forget that, because, the very fact that we are that this has come out of the blue and this is so surprising also means that this team has been so good that even the thought of losing a series has been quite fanciful. And the fact that they have actually done that shows you how dominant they've been for 13 years at home. Extremely proud record. And yeah, I mean, going forward, many years down the line, we may remember the 13-year streak as something that was rare and something we were fortunate to witness. Ashoka, I think this is the time you come in and uh, tell us the view from the streets.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, BCCI has done a good job with the retention strategies, and I'm looking forward to what the franchises are going to do.
Hello. Come back.
What?
Test cricket.
I thought
Test cricket.
I don't know. Test cricket, hey, this and all. Who's watching? Test cricket is dead 5 years ago, man. Let's talk about IPL and how Dhoni is going to be retained as an uncapped player.
Tala for a reason.
Yes, this is what October 31st deadline everyone is waiting. Yeah, some test series is happening somewhere. I don't know. I mean,
come on, man.
That's true.
There was a segue on a platter for you here. You should have said this has done his chances of IPL retention no harm. That should have been.
Who? Santner.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, I mean,
Santner not going to be
CSK for a reason, right?
No, man. No. But you know what I've observed? Some universal disturbance has happened ever since Babar Azam has been dropped, you know. Before that, India was chasing a test victory in 2 days, man. Then they dropped that guy. Suddenly, those guys started winning tests. We started losing we got 46 all out. And this test is unbelievable, dude. Like, New Zealand and especially Santner, he started bowling like, as dominantly as an Indian spinner in Indian condition, I would say, like Ashwin, Jadeja, Aksar, that kind of dominance. And they couldn't hit him at all. They couldn't, in a sustained fashion, handle him. So that is a surprising thing about me. I mean, the first innings was a massive surprise for me. I thought India did really well with, getting them to 259, because at one stage it looked like they were going to get 350. I thought this was one of those pitches where, nothing happens for 3 days and then everything starts happening. I thought this was one of those pitches, but then New Zealand just made 259 in the first innings, and I was like, really good. I mean, India did bowl well in the first innings.
Beautiful bowling by Washington, Sundar, on the first morning. We shouldn't forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, and even Ashwin and Jadeja first morning, at least Ashwin was good. So I thought we were back on track after the abnormal Bangalore test. Kartikeya was the only guy who was saying India will be 200 all out, and I thought once again he's wrong, because he's been wrong almost every time. This time also he was wrong, but he was wrong on the other side. He was too generous. He said 200 all out. That is like 50 runs extra he gave. I couldn't figure out what problem the Indian batters had facing Santner and Ajas. And that was surprising for me, because, from all our discussions and from what I thought Ajas will be the main threat and he will have support with Glenn Phillips and Santner. Ajas did almost nothing in this test. Actually, for a long period of time in the second innings, he was also ignored by his captain. He was not brought on to bowl at all. So that is another surprise for me. So yeah, this has been a test match of a lot of surprises. And as you said, I'm not going to get into this guy is gone old. Those people can't play spin and all that. There is a good time for that. And that time is 20 minutes later. But for now, I'm actually a little happy that India have managed one of the greatest streaks, in world cricket of like 12 years of dominance. Because I remember the last time when India lost, it was so shitty. I think me and Mahesh were in the stands in Mumbai when Cook and Peterson were hammering us. So we remember that. But that was such a long time ago, dude. And I mean, that's an amazing streak for 12 years if you're not beaten at home. So there is some recognition there, and you have to acknowledge that this has been like a great Indian team. But having said that, now I said we need 20 minutes. I think now we can jump into the actual crux of the matter.
The
which
real
is,
postmortem.
when are they dropping Rohit Sharma and Kohli, man? I mean, enough is enough, dude. Enough
Yeah,
is
I
enough.
think-
This has been going on for too long.
Yeah,
You
I
mean
think
two tests.
that you finally came to the view. You finally came to what the streets are saying. Mahesh,
The streets are losing their minds over this. Some guys have started. This is why we were saying that Tendulkar is always better, and some rubbish they have started.
yeah. So yeah, that this is the classic moment where you suddenly Tendulkar and that generation of players will become like the most the people who never struggled against spin, who played every ball as if they knew exactly where the ball was pitching, who knew that even before the spinner bowled the ball, they knew where the ball was going to land and all. Come on. We have seen enough of Tendulkar.
Sean Udall.
That is the new uncle generation. The old uncle generation have also pitched in. They have started saying, I am hoping that Gavaskar sir will teach them how to handle spin and all. So
Correct.
all
Every
manner of
generation.
uncledoms are converging now to a point of singularity.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we've seen like Paul Harris from South Africa and Ray Price and all troubled the Indian batters, and there's no harm in that, man. Absolutely no harm in that. That is totally fine. It's not like we are saying Sachin was not a great cricketer, but they've been troubled. Yeah, Ajanta Mendes. Correct. Anyway. Yeah, this is all like this new. Yeah, Saklan was peak in India. He had troubled everyone. But anyway,
Ashoka, I'm disappointed, and you have not asked the main question. Should they revisit the selection they made for the squad to Australia in light of today's result?
No, forget selectors. If Rohit Sharma has any shame, he should resign on his own. Don't let the selectors take that call.
Hey, he should have the moment between the crease and the dressing room, in the middle of it, he should have just stopped. He should have made a sign that he's resigning. He should have taken a paper from his pocket and he should have said, "I resign," and showed it. The cameras would have panned in, and then he would have gone off. That is what he should have done.
Accountability. That is the accountability the streets are looking for.
Correct. Okay, but Mahesh, I think you can come back to this.
So I think we have plenty to talk about. I think I'm really, really happy for New Zealand. It is like I still can't. I mean, we kind of in the preview we kind of thought about what are the different ways in which New Zealand can win a test match, let alone a series. I mean, we thought winning a test match in itself was significant, and we called it at least personally, I thought they'll win an outlier test. To the extent that we got an outlier test, which was very different from what I had foreseen in Bangalore. But this one was not an outlier test at all, in that sense that they were dominant throughout the test. So it is not because in one session they ran through Indian team and they won. They were dominant throughout. And also, this is a significant achievement. I mean, sure, like the 2004 Australian series win, which Ashoka was also there in Chennai. 2012-13, the England series win, which I was there in Bombay, are fantastic, fabulous. And even the 99 South Africa win came like after a 12-year streak, right? I mean, the previous one was Pakistan winning in 86, 87. So, but those streaks are very different. I mean, we had a lot of drawn series in between, and some are boring draws like the one against Sri Lanka, 97, nothing happened. Some are exciting draws like South Africa coming in and winning a test in Nagpur. So the losing.
I mean, even New Zealand drew a series in India.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Both the tests were drawn. Yeah,
exactly. So the losing was, rare, but winning was not as common as it is now. So to win against India, which is to make India lose, is a massive achievement in the current streak as compared to any of the past streaks. And apart from England in 2012-13, I don't think, that team could repeat that success. I mean, they had the batting for it, they had the bowling for it, and especially they caught that Indian team, which was still, which was coming off the previous generation, getting into the next generation. So that is probably the most sustainable streak. But this one is quite impressive because they managed it in two different conditions and with very different set of skills. And they are coming on the back of a 2-love drubbing in, I wouldn't call it drubbing, but let's say a whitewash in Sri Lanka.
I mean, the second test was a drubbing. The first one was
drubbing. The first one was pretty close. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But that also kind of, it's a point that we should talk about quite a bit, that this, this whole perception of Australia, England, India mattering so much more than the rest is purely in terms of the economics, but in terms of the skills, in terms of what they bring to the table, not just even in terms of tactics. The fact that they played both the left arm spinners here, even though who would have thought Santner would be the one winning the test match for them, right? That, Karthik has talked about it before, and we've seen a lot of visiting teams coming and doing this in India right now, right? And that is common to all teams. It is not just that Australia come with specific strategy and England come with baseball and so on. The difference or the standards of Test cricket right now between the top 6 or 7 teams is so high, and it's very easy to get tempted and go back to a particular period in time. But honestly speaking, I mean, administratively, Test cricket can be managed a lot better. All that's fine. But purely in terms of the competitiveness of Test cricket, I mean, we are in a golden era. The fact that New Zealand came and competed here, the fact that England is going and competing in Pakistan and Pakistan coming back is the surprise, and not the fact that England is competing.
And that Bangladesh went and won 2-0 in Pakistan.
Exactly. I mean, see, when Bangladesh won against Pakistan, it's seen as, Pakistan cricket's getting into new depths. And then Pakistan drops Babar Azam and still wins against England. And that's seen as a resurgence or like mockery of English cricket. But everything can't be a mockery of something. The fact that the era is so competitive is reflecting in all these results. And again, I still cannot. I don't have a good explanation of how this has happened. Like, I mean, is it the transition that's playing out for India? Possible, right? I mean, like the peak of this 12-year run was Shami at home, Umesh at home. That's not happening. Pujara, Rahane, they're particularly Pujara, he's not around. But that's been going on for a while. Perhaps, I think KD pointed this out, not so much in the England series, the one before that we had, I forgot who it was. But even in the England series, we talked about the fact that this is a post-peak Indian team. And it's a team that's aging together. And at some stage, that's going to play out. Actually, even in the England series, it played out to some extent because it was not an easy win. I mean, they had to really, really play out of their skills to win.
That way, our pod has been consistent, man. Like in England series, KD was saying that in Bangladesh series, we were collectively thinking that Bangladesh might pose a challenge. And this New Zealand Test series also, we were like saying that India will find it difficult to counter New Zealand. So at least to that extent, our pod has been consistently saying that something has gone wrong, boss.
I don't think we said it for the New Zealand series, by the way.
Bangladesh, after the first test we did. Not before.
Yeah.
I actually thought that Taijul and Shakib and Mehdi would do what but Ejaz and Santner
and Phillips did.
Have done.
Yeah.
And
that would have been no surprise because, I mean, honestly, Bangladesh coming and doing what New Zealand did in India would have not been a surprise. It would have been like, okay, it would have been...
They've just been smashed by Rabada though, so...
Exactly, yeah. That's the other result, Mahesh. South Africa went test coolly in Bangladesh.
Yeah. And it's not because all of a sudden these players can't play seam, can't play spin. None of that. It's just that the average bowling attack. I mean, between Bangladesh and South Africa, to play in Bangladesh and to have like that kind of result, who would have thought, right? It is something that we have to acknowledge because it is very easy. And also the other factor is that watching live cricket is a relatively recent phenomenon. When you're talking about Marshall and Richards and Sobers, nobody watched live cricket. Not every ball that they played. You watch highlights, you probably saw some snippets of it later on. Even those who lived through that era did not watch. So it's very easy to not get into this level of, let's say, critical sort of thing, saying, "Oh, these guys can't play spin." Every ball is a referendum on something. The fact that Gill gets out playing the way he did,
and DRS. The fact that the earlier era batters could comfortably put their pad in front, take that stride forward and play, and when they're not going to be given out when the ball hits the pad. Then very, very rare, and the fact that has changed itself. So yeah, I
mean, just the teams are a lot more professional. Like the fact that they know what, from the way they read the pitch to the way they acclimatize to the conditions with Rangna Hera there and so on. It's unlikely that teams who came in the 80s would have had this level of resources. And the fact that they have this level of resources even for the second tier teams. I mean, we keep talking about how rich India is as a cricketing ecosystem, how rich England and Australia are. If that is the logic, New Zealand are not particularly rich, right? But they still have pretty much all the basic resources that you get for an Indian team, right? And you're talking about physiotherapists, you're talking about a bowling coach specifically for these two tours, and so on.
But they are ahead of India in many of those areas, man. They've had those things for much longer than India have had them.
No, that's true. Over the longer period, yes. But like
that
right
kind of
now,
support and that kind of training and that kind of know-how that
But they still don't have that many. India has far more.
They are just smaller. I mean, they are just much smaller. But I don't think they are sort of primitive or anything.
But it's a first world country. No. I mean, let's not forget the fact that Indian cricket is rich, but India is not a rich country. New Zealand is a first world country, which means the average citizen lives a much healthier life, eats a much better, healthier meal, and has a more active life. And the not just cricket. Let's say if you were to play rugby or if you were to play something else, if you went to school and played sports, the average standards of fitness there is much higher. I mean, let's not forget that even some of the international cricketers have come through malnutrition in their childhood. I mean, India has a long way to go for the median ecosystem to catch up. Sure, the Indian cricket post IPL is super rich, but that doesn't offset all the accumulated grassroots advantages that first world countries give.
New Zealand won a great toss and they rode, like in the last test match, they played Matt Henry and the conditions suited him like too perfectly. And in this test match, they played Mitchell Santner and the conditions suited him perfectly. It's an interesting test match in that, I mean, New Zealand were luckier than India. They converted false shots into wickets a lot more efficiently than India did. Actually, India beat the bat more often than New Zealand in this match. At least that's what the control record shows. So it's and that's rare. I mean, teams which beat the bat less often don't usually win test matches, but New Zealand have. This whole thing basically comes down to, and the pitch is one of those where you don't really know how much it's going to turn, right? I mean, so Santner, I don't think Santner with his straighter ones, I don't think he meant them. I think they just were straighter ones. Some balls are turning and some balls are not turning, and it depends on whether it lands on the part of the pitch which is turning or doesn't land on the part of the pitch which is turning. So that those are really tricky pitches to play on. New Zealand were bowled out twice for less than 500 runs and they still won. So 500 runs off the bat. Now, there's this whole question of speed, like Ganju's been posting graphs or charts about, basically, look.
I think we should tell people who Ganju is Himanish Ganju, by the way, for those who don't know, who worked with the Indian team as a data analyst for 2 years, and now he's on Twitter and you can follow him on X.
Yeah. He's a friend of ours. It's been
friend of the pod.
Yeah. And so basically, there's an inverse relationship between speed and turn. Okay, if you bowl slower, you get more turn. That is the general relationship of speed to turn when it comes to spin bowling. Ganju's point has been that Santner's sort of bowling, mid to late 80s, and he's getting a lot more turn when he slows it down. Whereas, with Patel and Ashwin and Jadeja, they're both naturally quicker, and when they slow it down and they put more revs on the ball than Santner. And even in this match, that is true. But they're bowling generally quicker, and it's not helping them as much. But I mean, I think that's true because Santner did turn the ball a lot more.
But I have a question there then. Like, I think Washington also bowled at similar speeds to Ashwin, Jadeja and Ajas. But he got a lot of wickets, man. So speed alone can't explain, no?
Washington, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Washington got a lot of wickets.
No. It's not just a question of speed. That is true. But I mean, the question is like, did he bowl better or were his returns better? That's the question, right? And the figures suggest that his returns were better. So I generally there are sort of two things you can look at. I mean, Santner did. When he bowled, 12 to 18 feet is like the good length for the spinner, right? So Santner bowled 174 balls on a good length, and he collected 8 for 70. And that's like 60% of the balls he bowled. Whereas Ashwin bowled 202 balls on a good length, and he collected 3 for 104, and Jadeja collected 3 for 87 and 148 balls. Washington Sundar collected 6 for 59 in 164 balls. But the thing is that, bowlers normally, their returns are much better from a good length than when they miss their length, when they overpitch or underpitch, right? But, so there are two things in the record, right? One is that Santner collected 5 for 86 when he missed his length in 114 balls. So whereas Washington Sundar collected 5 for 56 in 91 balls when he missed his length. And he turned the ball a lot less. Both of them turned the ball a lot less when they missed their length. So they were both, objectively luckier than sort of the two more experienced spinners, actually the three more experienced spinners in this match. And also, Santner hit his length 60% of the time. Ashwin hit it 69% of the time. Jadeja and Sundar hit it 65% of the time. And Patel.
No, but KD, I have a question then. The question is that even when you miss your length, if you turn the ball more,
He's not turning the ball more. He's not
when he misses his length. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, Jadeja turned the ball a lot more when he missed his length than Santner. And Jadeja collected not for 42 in 81 balls. So, the wicket, a dismissal is sort of a sufficiently rare event that, you can have outliers like this. But this is definitely and to be fair, the first thing that Glenn Phillips said when he was interviewed on TV is that, Santner was on a golden run and, everything he touched turned to gold, It's not, if I can see these figures, New Zealand's analyst has seen these figures. They know, but that's not to say that there's something wrong with it. It's part of the game, New Zealand did play Santner. They saw the wicket and they did have a theory of how they were going to take 20 wickets. And that theory came off. They won the toss and, the pitch has progressively turned more and more after the first two sessions of the match, So they had the better of the wicket. I think that the extra 100 runs they scored are basically those 100 runs. So I don't necessarily... It's part of the game,
Santner didn't have to do anything different from what he would probably normally do.
I think that, Santner's normal pace is late 80s, mid to late 80s. So I don't think he's sort of specifically set out to bowl with this pace. Occasionally he was sort of slowing it down, and I think he did sort of use that idea. But all the others also tried to use the idea. They just didn't work for them.
Okay, so, I have a question in that case. Yeah. Let's say Santner got 5 for when he missed his length, and he only hit his length 60% of the time. So there is one theory is that he's luckier, is what you're saying. Can you also say that Indian batsmen were poor at playing him whenever he missed his length, whereas the New Zealand batters were very good putting away Jadeja and Ashwin and Washington when they missed their length?
No, but Washington Sundar did collect 5 for 56 when he missed his length. No, so unless you're saying that they were especially good against Ashwin and Jadeja, but not against Washington Sundar, that's really not. That's not how it works. No, that's not. Fine.
But then Indian. Let's forget New Zealand batters. Yeah. That's not the focus point anyways. Indian batters are the key focus point. No, are they poor against spin? by
No,
your
they're
data.
not. They're not poor against spin or pace. If they were, they wouldn't win 55% of the test matches they play. They are bloody good.
Not 55, man. I'm talking about now. Now they're aging. No, now
Yeah, but what do
is
you
when.
mean now? I mean,
But the
it's not
batsmen
like.
are not aging, apart from Rohit and Kohli. The rest of the
No, but
batting is
even
quite
if
young.
yeah, but even if they are, no, I mean, it's not like they're dropped off a cliff, no. I mean, it doesn't work like that. No, you're not an idiot one day and God the next day, no. Like regardless of what people say, you're pretty much the same, here. Some days you get good returns and some days you don't get good returns. So I do think with Rohit Sharma, I do think that he's how should I put it? Uh, he's sort of so.
Choose your words carefully.
I know I'm seeing Mahesh is staring at me. I have to choose my words carefully. So one of the things that's happened with Rohit Sharma since he became all format captain and since sort of Kohli gave way is that he's sort of seems to be on this mission to sort of make India more attacking, and he wants India to be more efficient, So and this is true in the T20 thing. This is true in the ODI thing. This is also true in the Test thing. And so the Rohit Sharma of 2021, who was like this absolutely like therapy brilliant opener, who rarely lost his shape, who was patient, who would watch it, and that series he played in England. That opener we don't get to see anymore. Now Rohit Sharma wants to monster everything with the new ball, So I mean, part of the reason I think he sort of, I don't know. I mean, it was a really good ball which got him, but I mean, he does sort of get turned around a little too easily compared to what it used to, like in 2021 or 2020, or at that time. I mean, he's still going to score runs, right? I mean, because opening out is opening out all these other strokes for him, so he's still going to score runs. But I mean, there just seems to be like this I don't know what do you call it. He's sort of, he seems to feel like he needs to go out and open the batting and really go for it, as opposed to just bat, and I really think that, like bowlers have their own sort of natural pace, no? Like Santner is in the mid to late 80s. Jadeja is like the spin bowling version of Shoaib Akhtar. He can't help but bowl fast. The
Pace
guy
is pace, yeah. Pace is pace, yeah.
So, like, I think batsmen also have like this. They're comfortable scoring at a particular speed because, I mean, there are certain scoring shots that they are mostly comfortable playing and scoring from those shots. And I think this was especially true of Sehwag, but and also Dravid and Tendulkar, all of them. So you ask Dravid to score at 75 runs per 100 balls in a Test match, he'll try and he'll do it for a while, but really, I mean, it's not his. I mean, it's not something he's really practiced or done or tried to do too often. Like, and this is also something. I mean, Rohit Sharma clearly feels he needs to do this, but whether it's a good idea or not, that's debatable. I mean,
wait, let me bring in legal counsel for Rohit Sharma at this point of time. Yes, Mahesh.
He's taking him on for the team. That's what a captain should do.
He's taken one too many, man. He's taken one too many.
He's not built for it. He's setting the tone. He's telling others how to bat.
Setting the tone.
No, so this whole playing the spin thing is quite annoying. Every time there is like a collapse, this comes up. I mean, first of all, we are playing on more sort of result-oriented pitches nowadays. And the opposition that comes to India is far better prepared than any of the opposition that used to come in the 80s and 90s. And these guys score a lot of runs. It's again the same logic. You don't look at the number of losses, you also look at the number of wins. This Indian team wins a lot more at home than before. So these guys score a lot of runs. I mean, if you look at the way Jaiswal played today, I mean, there is nothing in it for me to believe that any Indian batsman in the past would have played spin better than him. Right? He played as well as anybody has ever done. I know this is going to be like told left, right, and center, but the way he played those shots,
You're right.
even when
No, I mean, it's not as though, I mean, look, there are basically two great spinners in Sunil Gavaskar's playing era, Derek Underwood and Lance Gibbs, and both were in the 70s. And basically India lost series to both of them. They lost series to Ashley Mallett. They lost series to, I mean, there are lots and lots of spinners that they lost. They lost series to, John Embury and Phil Edmonds. In
Iqbal Qasim and Tausif Ahmed.
Iqbal Qasim and Tausif Ahmed. They were outbowled. Maninder Singh and Shivlal Yadav and company were outbowled by Iqbal Qasim, Tausif Ahmed, and even though I think
and also Abdul Qadir was, I think, pretty great, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is that, I mean, the thing is that, look, you want to see sort of the average test pitch of the 1980s. Think back to the Ahmedabad pitch of the Australia tour last year. That was the average test pitch of the 1980s. 25 out of 42 home tests India played in the 1980s were drawn. Okay, that is 60% of the test matches India played in India in the 1980s were drawn. Okay, this is not, I mean, the range of things that Jaiswal has to do compared to the range of things that Gavaskar had to do is like not even comparable, I mean,
has to do or can do? Has to do or can?
No, but he's playing not T20, he's playing ODIs, he's playing Test cricket.
Yes.
1 week he's playing Bangladesh on a square turner. The next week he's playing, on a seaming pitch against Matt Henry and Will O'Rourke. Now, 3 weeks later, he's going to go to Perth and play Pat Cummins and Josh Hazelwood and company.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
And sort of in between, he's playing T20 World Cup or whatever it is, and blah blah, what have you. So the variety and range of sort of bowling he has to face, and how well he plays against all of it. Like, his technique is sort of built to cope with all of those things, no? I mean, it's the same with Shubman Gill. It's the same with Virat Kohli. It's the same with Rohit Sharma. This is why sort of the whole Virat Kohli... I mean, I think the point is that, see, if Sunil Gavaskar was 21 years old in 2024, he would play like Yashasvi Jaiswal. He would not play like the Sunil Gavaskar of 1971. That's the thing that people don't get.
I was still a bit surprised at the 156. I mean, the New Zealand bowled well. There was a good rhythm to the bowling. Santner was good. All that is fine. But I was still surprised with the 156. I don't think the pitch was, that...
See, India did both. Okay, this is a classic sort of template. India did both. In the first innings, they backed the defense. They said they thought they'll play their natural game and survive through, whatever tough spell that they come through and score. That didn't work. In the second innings, they said, okay, the ball is doing a lot. This guy, every time he pitches on length, is getting the ball to do a lot. And that's a rest, trying to survive. Let's go after the bowling. They did both. And at least in the second innings, it seemed like it was working for a while, but it's never going to work throughout the innings. And that's exactly what happened. See, it is, no matter how good you are, you have to concede the fact that in certain conditions, if the opposition has enough basic quality of bowling and they pick the right squad and they're a little bit luckier than on other days, they're going to have that advantage. And that's a credit to them. And it's not to put down what New Zealand has done. That's how Test cricket works. I mean,
but this is also where, like, India are so much more daring and so much more attacking than they used to be. I mean, why were they putting out flat pitches in the 80s? Because they were mighty frightened of losing. I mean, Shivlal. You think Shivlal Yadav and Maninder Singh and Ravi Shastri would not have liked to have bowled on the kind of wickets India have put out in the last 10 years? They would have, of course.
I mean, you don't even have to go so far back. I think Harbhajan Singh has made it clear the kind of pitches he would like to bowl on.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, those pitches are called doctored pitches, as if only India is allowed to bowl field spinners. No, it's like India cannot. What they are as result pitches. They're saying that, okay, we want to win, and we are willing to risk the fact that you might also win. and to create the result pitch. And part of this is the incentive is the WTC. I mean, there's no question that is an incentive, because everywhere in the world there are result pitches. It's not like only India is producing result pitches and England is producing roads, man. It's not. England is also producing pitches which absolutely marginalize the spinner and play to their seam bowling strengths. So
yeah, that is true. The question is, did India prepare this Pune pitch as a reaction to the Bangalore pitch? That is the
I
question.
don't think so.
But
I mean,
Pune has
the
always
pitch
been
has
like this,
always
right?
been like this. Yeah. And India prepared the Pune pitch like this and lost 2 out of 3 test matches there, man. So it's not like, I mean, it is a result pitch and it is a risk, no? I mean, India cannot stop New Zealand from picking spinners, no? So, this business of, well, you doctor pitches and you win is also nonsense, no? I mean, you prepare result pitches, you give the opposition a chance to win, no? That's what Australia do also, no? Australia don't prepare like roads. In fact, in 2017, 2014-15 and 2015-16 and 2016-17 and until the 2017-18 Ashes, Melbourne and especially was a road, and they dug it up because they hated it. Because I think the 2017-18 MCG Test match, they couldn't even finish 3 innings in that match. It was so bad. I mean, I think Alistair Cook made 244, the most boring double hundred in the history of Test cricket. Okay.
No, that is his 294. That is different. He has made greater.
I had the misfortune of watching it, so please no.
No, but at least they won that match. No, I mean, here what? I mean, he's making runs and nothing's happening.
No. Listen, in 2019, India South Africa Test in Pune, India made 601 for 5. Yeah. That was not the kind of pitch this was. And then the bowlers who got the wickets there were Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Shami got a lot of wickets in that Test match.
Yeah.
So this was a different pitch. So
against Australia,
more like the Australia, the Steve O'Keefe.
But we can't. Even Chennai pitch changes a lot. We can't. I mean, but it's broadly in nature with the Pune ground. I don't think this is an extraordinary outlier or something. I don't think it's a reaction to the first test. It's the nature of the pitch as such.
I mean, to be fair, the first test was also supposed to turn. Both teams thought it would turn.
Yes. Yeah, both teams picked 3 spinners. Both teams, not 3, but India picked 3 and New Zealand said they would bat. Yeah.
No, that's true. And also, New Zealand had the resources. You see, they won a great toss, they lost a great toss. All that's fine. But a lot of other teams have done that. They had the right resources. They picked the right team. They did all the right things on the day.
They got lucky and good for them, I say.
Yeah, they got lucky, but they still sort of bowled well. They batted well.
Yeah, they're good players. Yeah, and when good players get lucky, they win. Yeah, good for them. I mean, I don't understand this. Why is it such a bad thing to get lucky? Yeah, I mean, yeah, fine.
Okay, Katie, let me provoke you a little bit here. Let's just get the headline for the podcast. Are you saying that this Santner spell is the bowling equivalent of Ollie Pope's innings?
No, it's not. It's not that much of an outlier. It's not that much of an outlier. I mean, he would have. I don't necessarily think that it had that much of an effect. I think they did win I think the toss was probably a bigger effect than that, because the wicket did play much better in the first 2 sessions. I mean, it did turn less, and it also had less uneven bounce in the first couple of sessions. Without ever really breaking apart, without really ever, splitting up like that. I don't remember which was that match in 2023, Indore.
Yeah.
India lost that match, no?
Yeah, Nathan Lyons got a lot of wickets.
Yeah, a lot of shooters, a lot of balls kicking up. That wicket completely fell apart. That didn't happen to this pitch, but
that is what is called rank turner. It's called gold medal, first rank.
No, that's just a poor pitch. I mean, they did call it a poor pitch, no? I mean,
it was rated as a poor pitch by ICC, correct?
In terms of rank, it's the bottom actually.
I think all these other boards are secretly happy that when a rival test venue like Indore gets ranked as a poor pitch, it gives BCCI an excuse to take it out of the rotation. More test matches for these other grounds.
The Indian team over the last 13 years has had several instances where foreign teams have had their good fortune at the toss. They've had their good fortune with the conditions. They've had the
Yeah.
thing. But they have pulled it back. So
Yeah, they've survived. Yeah.
they have survived, and not just survived. They've also won those matches. It's not like they have needed to draw them, but they've won them. So that was what was so. Actually speaking, for me personally, I know it was a flat pitch, and I know it was. On the first day, I know it was good for batting, but I still felt New Zealand did well to get to 250 plus because you know I can easily see another sort of test in which a team is bowled out for 180 or 190 on that day, and
Come on, man. Come on. First day 259 all out is a great bowling effort, dude, on a standard Indian pitch. It's a great
No, but if you
bowling
see Ashoka, if you see Washington bowled beautifully, but I don't think that everybody else bowled as well. Bowled as well as him.
But all Indian bowlers, all three Indian spinners have somehow decided that they will only bowl over 90 kilometers per hour. I think.
But that worked for them against Bangladesh. No.
I don't know, some theory they have about this particular pitch, or maybe this is a reaction to them. New Zealand reverse sweeping or sweeping.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It is a reaction to being swept and reverse swept. Every batter in top orders nowadays can play that shot. Blundell, Phillips, Ravindra, Latham. All of them have practiced that shot. All of them have played that shot, and and it has had two effects on the Indian spinners. One is they're bowling a little bit quicker, and the second is they overpitch a lot more often because they want to get under the bat. And if you remember, actually, even Santner, especially Jaiswal, was making Santner bowl a lot fuller for that same reason. And even Phillips, he was making him bowl a lot fuller for that reason. Because like the classic tactic when the batter is sweeping is to try to overpitch so that you sort of get under the bat, because the bat is horizontal, so like the width of the bat is actually horizontal, so you have to beat it on height, so they want to get, and also the other thing is that if you get a little bit of uneven bounce, then both edges of the bat come into play. You can get under the bat, hit the bat on the pad, you can get a bottom edge, you can get a top edge, you can get all kinds of things. So that's the reason that they're doing it. There is another way, which is to sort of trust the fact that it will turn and just keep bowling slow and let them slog. And I think Noman Ali and especially does that quite a bit. I did watch like about an hour of that test match of Noman Ali and Sajid Khan bowling. England were exactly like they were in India. They had one idea, like that was about it. So,
the sweep is interesting because Dinesh Karthik made the point as well with Jaiswal. There was a period in which Jaiswal gets a back massage, and he sort of after that he stops playing the sweep. Actually, so he said that the moment after he seemed to have a little bit of a niggle in the back, he stopped playing the sweep, and that in fact. He was pointing out could have, had the effect on the bowler basically, getting into the rhythm of the length that he's bowling. So he was unable to disrupt the length much when he took the sweep out of the equation.
One thing I wanted to know was KD saying during our chats that Ashwin's underlying figures were bad this test. What is these underlying figures, man?
In the previous in the previous test, his underlying figures were bad. In this test,
no, you didn't. In the previous pod, you said his underlying figures are generally fine. Yeah. But in this match, you had said in our chat that it's actually bad. Yeah.
He has been overpitching a lot more. But also this has sort of been a bit of a long-term trend, but it's especially pronounced in this match. Ashwin rarely short pitches, like that he never does. So he almost never gets pulled, like when he misses his length, it's not because he's lost his action, it's because he's trying something. And Ashwin has been trying a lot of things, but in this innings, in this match, his underlying figures, like compared to all the other bowlers, they're not bad. Compared to him, they are not what they used to be.
Yeah, but can you expand on that? What are these figures? The length.
He's over pitching a lot more.
Okay.
And he's also I mean, he's usually really straight on a good length, and no matter where he bowls, I mean, he rarely bowls wide. Whereas I think that my sort of overarching theory about Ashwin is that especially since England, especially since Baseball, he has been troubled by the sweep, and he's been trying to find out how to bowl against it. And it's the same. And Jadeja's solution is to just bowl fast. I mean, to bowl faster and faster and faster and hit the rough, and try to sort of try to sort of overpower the batter. And like it's hard to do that with test batters, but
these are great bowlers. Why? I mean,
Yeah.
is this really a problem for them?
But it's
I mean,
a new
come
thing.
on.
But they've never bowled against entire lineups, all of whom are sweeping and reverse sweeping. No, I mean, it's one thing to have to bowl to one guy who's sweeping or reverse sweeping. Like Andy Flower would play it, but it wasn't like all of the New Zealand lineup was sort of reverse sweeping. Like, but now this is sort of the speed at which these things develop these days is much quicker than it was 20-25 years ago. Because everybody sees everybody is played against everybody, and especially right now, like Ashwin and Jadeja, like there's nobody who's playing them for the first time. Like everybody's played them before, and they've beaten everybody before. So they are absolutely the most known of known entities in international cricket. I think maybe only Nathan Lyon is as well known as them among bowlers. But I think that they are troubled by that. They've both been hassled by the sweep and the reverse sweep, and they've been trying to find solutions. And I don't think they've solved the problem to their satisfaction. I don't think because I mean, in England, what happened in that England series is that eventually England luck with the sweep shot ran out, and like the law of averages caught up with them. And the last 3 test matches, like the sweep was an utter disaster for them. But over here, that's not happened yet. I mean, Rachin Ravindra and Latham and all these people are, sweeping from the stumps.
Maybe if this was a 5 test match series, then I think this will play out the same way.
Maybe, perhaps. And especially like when the wicket is good, like the Bangalore wicket was really good, then Ashwin has really nowhere to go, right? Like then the sort of the reverse sweep and the sweep in addition to the lofted shot really makes the batter like a really potent opponent. So
So basically, it's like not only the range of shots, but it's the range of shots by a lot wider, by the entire team, entire lineup.
Yeah, I mean, the threat is present on most of the balls he bowls, like at the top order, right? It's not just present against one batter, right? So, I mean, this is something new. I mean, this is not something Vaughan had to contend with or Kumble had to contend with or any of those. They would have contended with it just as well as these guys. They would have worked out a method, but they didn't. I mean, they were not confronted with that. I mean, they were confronted with other problems like bad play and things like that. So they had to work out solutions for those things. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, and I don't think they know either. Okay. I mean, you can imagine a future in which batters become so good at the sweep and reverse sweep that the averages change. Like right now, batters basically miss 1 in 3 sweep shots. And they are dismissed on 1 in about 7.5. False shots. So they are dismissed all told about 1 in 23, 24 sweep shots. Right. Now, if that, and when the wicket is good, that sort of climbs to 30, and when the wicket is turning, that comes down to about 15 to 18. Right. So, but you can imagine a world in which sort of batters become so good that, they're consistently getting, surviving, 28, 30 sweep shots. then spinners will have to do something different. But I think that if that happens, that will happen maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, something like that.
Bowl a bouncer, man. If you get
Because
down
one
to
of the things-
sweep, bowl a bouncer.
If you notice, one of the things like the lofted shot has also become far more prevalent. I mean, there are a lot more players who play the lofted shot now than there used to be. If you ask me, like purely esoterically, the most interesting matchup in this whole series, the most sort of the one matchup which I really caught my eye has been to watch Tim Southee batting against Ashwin. Because he really has taken him to the cleaners. And he seems to pick him, and he seems to pick his length utterly comfortably. I mean, I've not seen anyone sort of find the half volley against Ashwin with as much ease as Tim Southee. I mean, it's only been a few balls, but it's been quite something. So I don't know. I think if I got to interview Ashwin, I would love to ask him about all this, but I don't think that's going to happen.
But rather than, so suppose you have the sweep, that's great. But what happened to these batters who used to come down the track, not just for an attacking shot, but also for like a single or for a push? That's not happening much right now. I mean, I don't see that as much now.
Sidvi, just ask what happened to Pujara, man. Just don't do all this. What happened to Pujara? Why are they not picking Pujara?
No. I mean, there are a couple of things. One, you come down the wicket and you kind of pad away. That's gone, right? I mean, the umpires are a lot more aggressive in giving that out as well. Even the pad play when you come down the wicket, and also like the average speed of spinners has definitely gone up. Like the finger spinners and now even the wrist spinners today bowl faster than before. So which means it's easier. I mean, even Brian Lara, for instance, right? Like he was asked in one of the interviews, there's no denial that he's one of the greatest players of spin of all time, if not the greatest. And even he was talking about why his record against particular type of spinners were not that good. So anyone who bowled at a faster pace, he didn't have enough visibility to go down the track and attack them, which means he had to play from the crease, and that reduced his odds of success. And that's not us forming conjecture here. Lara himself saying why that's the case. And that is in an era where you had a mix of both. But I'm saying right now, the number of bowlers, I mean, Lyon does flight it a bit, but he has so much overspin that also makes it difficult to go down.
Lyon is deceptively quick. I mean, Lyon's average speeds are about 88, 89. Yeah. So
yeah.
Now that Pujara came up, how would Pujara have batted on this pitch?
He would have done the same thing, right? He backs his defense. He comes around the wicket. He's got such exquisite sort of footwork and judgment of line and length. He's going to come down the wicket and defend. But it's not like Pujara has not failed. I mean, the England series that you're talking about, Pujara made a fantastic 100 in Bombay when everybody else failed. It's one of his greatest, probably his greatest innings. But he also failed in the rest of the series. It's not like he's not failed before.
Yeah, he scored 100 in Ahmedabad when India won, and then 100 in Bombay, and then after
double
that,
100 in Ahmedabad, I think.
Double 100 in Ahmedabad, correct. Yeah.
I mean, to the extent, you're right. To the extent that anybody, like if there is an obviously better player of spin in the recent sort of time, it's probably Pujara from the current lineup.
Yeah. See, I mean, I think one of the things that's worth mentioning is just how precarious these things are. And I mean, New Zealand lucked out to the extent that they got Rishabh Pant once on a sort of a semi-shooter, and the second time he got run out. And the overall difference in the Test match was 120 runs. I mean,
that was a poor run, man. Running to Santner's left stronger hand.
Yeah, but it's not like New Zealand did not strategize for it to happen. It happened. They did luck out.
It was like an accident, no? I mean, also, one of the interesting things in this Indian lineup is that the top order is a run out waiting to happen.
Those guys shouldn't run, man.
Some of these batsmen think everything is a run, and some of these batsmen think not much is a run. So this is the big.
Sarfraz, that guy is like run out happening at any point of time when Sarfraz is batting. Jaiswal is also like getting.
I mean,
that.
Jaiswal
Jadeja
broke his
definitely-
back because he missed the run out. I mean, he
Correct.
got lucky with the run out, but he broke his back.
He broke his back. Jadeja will get run out at any moment he wishes, because he thinks everything is a run, everything is a two. I think one thing we should mention, at least as a last point, is Washington Sundar. I mean, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed watching that spell in the first morning. Thought it was like beautiful off-spin bowling, getting it like between bat and pad. The sort of lovely control, lovely, like the whole great spin bowling to watch from him, and especially more highlighted by the fact that he was bowling alongside Ashwin and Jadeja, and he was getting he got 7. So fantastic for him, and fantastic also. I mean, he also batted pretty decently in this test. So great test for him.
Boss, back in 2016 when TNPL started, and Washington Sundar opened, that time only
Batting or bowling?
Batting. That time only I said, this guy, this kid is going to go far.
You watched him open the batting in TNPL and said in the future he's going to take 7 wickets with this off spin in a test match.
I didn't say he's going to take 7 wickets. I said he is the sobers from Tamil Nadu. That is already right. Come. Yeah, it is going to come true.
If in the future, if somebody writes a review of this series in the future, they will realize how Tamil Nadu and CSK have played such a vital role in this series. How basically CSK.
This match is basically TN versus CSK, man. That's all. CSK won, beat TN.
And just like all that, CSK happens to have come out on the winning
all this
side.
Mumbai lobby. It's a blow to Mumbai lobby, this match.
I think now it's fair to say that they're aging, man. I mean, I think we've been saying it for a while. It's a fact. It's not something that you can control.
No, that doesn't automatically tell us that they are winning. I mean, every time Ashwin doesn't bowl well, we have this feeling. But I was just looking at it. He had a phenomenal
series against
Australia.
But they could be.
I do not know. That's what I'm saying. The drop in status is so minute that we cannot see unless we are going by the results.
Yeah. He's 38. And one of India's problems right now is that in this test match, for instance, they had nobody between the age of 30 and 35. Actually, they had one player between the age of 27 and 35. Jasprit Bumrah is 30. There were of the others, I think there were 4 players like Jadeja, Rohit, Kohli, and Ashwin, who are 35 or older, 35 to 38, and everybody else is like 22 to 27. So whereas New Zealand, most of their side was in their early 30s. Like Ravindra is young, and Ejaz Patel is their oldest player, but most of their side is in their early 30s.
Okay, I think we have covered this historic moment. All credit to New Zealand. Fantastic for them. Third test, if they end up winning 3-0, I think that this is just pushing absurdity to the level of, beyond all boundaries. Thanks for JD, Ashoka, and Mahesh for joining. 81allout.com is our website. At 81allout is our handle on X. Please rate and review the podcast. Thanks so much for your feedback and comments. I've, there have been some comments coming into Spotify as well. That's another sort of avenue in which you can reach us. Spotify allows you to put your comment in there, and we will publish it and also, try and answer your questions. We have republished 3 classic works of cricket literature. I'll put links to those as well. One of those books actually is The Summer Game by Gideon Hay, and with Australian summer now on, and India going to Australia, I think it's would be a great read to learn about cricket in Australia in the 1960s. Another book that we republished was Cricket Beyond the Bazaar by Mike Coward, which is also about India and Australia, but it is about Australia's tours to the subcontinent in the 1980s, but goes into the history of India-Australia series and India-Australia relations. So another fine book that you should pick up. And of course, the third book, which was Mike Marques's War Minus the Shooting, which was a travelogue and book about the 1996 World Cup in India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. All right. Thank you. Great for New Zealand. Well done, and good night. Take care.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home. Lords goes wild.